Welcome everybody, it is Unstoppable Streletsy with yet another Age of Empires 3 Definitive Edition Casa game. Today we got ourselves a Deathmatch 2 vs 2 on the same map as we saw the 3 vs 3 yesterday. So yeah, this is a pretty good map to do Deathmatch on, you know. Just like last time, you got the big X going through the center of the map. The little trade routes, yep, you could capture these ones up here, down here, and in the other diagonal direction as well. As we saw in the last game when it was a 3 vs 3, you know, most of the fighting occurs along here, right? But sometimes the fight can occur along here too, you know what I mean? Sometimes somebody will build a bit of a forward base presence and then they'll try to flank you either here, sometimes in the middle, so it really depends, really. But anyways, let's get started. I figured I'd bring up the map during the intro a bit quicker since, you know, we're pretty familiar with this map at this point, since you literally saw a Netflix film size match the last time. Let's begin, shall we? Alright, so this team here, we got a France and an England. Both of those players constructed their churches right away. You know, again, these churches is really important because it gives you mercantilism. Research in mercantilism this early in the match for a deathmatch will obviously give you about 5 shipments, which is quite good, you know what I mean? And with those 5 shipments, both players will decide sort of what cards are really important to get. British are also going to prioritize manor houses, since British are the only civilization without any sort of added cards that can actually get a free settler from each house that they build. Since the manor house, as you know, in standard play, gives you a free settler and is often the source of the manor boom, as they call it, right? Free villages with each house. But in Deathmatch, since you start out with 20k wood, building those manors is obviously an instantaneous thing that you could start right away, so why not take advantage of it, right? You know, obviously building these manor houses alongside constructing your 2 additional town centers is going to mean that you're going to reach your maximum of settlers quicker than your opponents, and therefore your economy is going to be a little bit more stable, you know what I mean? It's not going to be as tricky to deal with. We also notice France over here again, their production cards going, their engineering school, their riding school, their fencing school, to train faster infantry, cavalry, and artillery. We see a group of French dragoons start to depart from the base right now and start to head south. As you know in Deathmatch, since you start with 20k of each resource, fighting begins pretty much instantaneously here. France is going to follow up with their factory wagons. You know, they really need to make sure they watch their resources here. In fact, this is the same France we saw last time, Don Stowe. So, you know, I mean, it's kind of neat seeing the players go with this. Well, actually, Angel of Death also went British the last game, is that right? Oh, yeah. Got a pretty good photographic memory of those names, so yeah. It's going to be pretty interesting, again, seeing these players teamed up again with the same civs. They're going to be facing off against the Mexicans and the Dutch. Bo Klassen's Dutch. We haven't seen him for a couple of matches, but as you know, Bo Klassen's is a very powerful Dutch. He has some pretty tricky tactics for us. He loves to rush in with hussars and try to raid the settlers and slowly drain down the enemy's economy. Whereas HVNI here, a very seasoned deathmatch player with a wide variety of different builds and strategies. Now we're going to see his Mexico in action. He's going to be starting out with vigilantes, some dragoons, also some artillery. So yeah, some horse artillery, culverins, mortars. Right now we got the French dragoons right in the front here trying to blast down the cannons. But now they're going to have to sort of have to retreat now that the vigilantes, salteadores, those stealthy Mexican skirmishers start to shoot them back. Yeah, I think France was looking for a quick charge here, but now the Mexicans are fully deployed and they're ready to force them back. What's this over here? Is this a... Oh, that's a hacienda. Oh yeah, hacienda is very important for the Mexican economy. Not only can they have about 20 villages I am to gather, but you know, they also trickle a bit of resources as well, depending on what you have it configured to. You can configure it to food, coin, cows, or villager production. So depending on what you need, you know, you could obviously switch it down to different things. We see this France here with about half of their food and wood starting stockpile left. The coin is a little bit lower. Let's look at some of the other players. Resource counts, British, using up a lot of their wood for the mana boom. Food is also a bit scarce for them. Well, not really scarce, but they definitely dug into it a lot more than the French did. You know, which is a bit shocking since, you know, France is the one with those pricey cuirassiers and hussars that they usually use a lot of. So I'm surprised British dug through food that quickly, just making like longbowmen and guard pikes. And anything's possible. Looks like Dutch and Mexico though have the lowest coin count, so they're gonna have to watch that. Dutch, as you know, they can build banks which trickle coins, so for them, as the match progresses, their coin economy becomes near impossible to defeat, really, and it's more or less the food and the wood that tends to become a problem for them, if they don't manage it properly, that is. Ah, nice, good utilization of the Quizzlebash natives from the Sufi here, by the French. I think they also used their Quizzlebash natives in the last game, right? Oh yeah, definitely. I think I remember that. It's certainly a good unit since they're pretty good against infantry, and as being a native unit, you know, they don't cost any pop, so good addition either way. Now you're gonna have to watch your cans up here. You really shouldn't let these Chinanko riders reaching all the way back here into your cannons. You really should have some dragoons here to try to stall them out. Maybe even a pike or a halberdier or something, you know what I mean? You gotta protect your cannons, man, from these charos, these Chinankos. Pretty much, they will keep ripping through your cannons if you're not careful. Also, they get multipliers against, you know, both skirmishers and hand cavalry, so the Chinankos are actually a pretty formidable unit to deal with here. Coin, please. So yeah, that's going to be the thing here. When Mexico, you know, they're basically out of coin at this point, they're going to rely on the Dutch to swing them the coin. Which, as the match progresses, you know, that's going to become harder and harder to do. So hopefully Mexico knows when it's time to move their haciendas over to coin. It seems like they got both of their factories now, which is great. Also, another solution for them, start to get those mining carts out. So they're going to get Silversmith, and then they're going to get Copper Canyon. This is basically going to give them another mine at their base with that they'll construct with the wagon. And with some mining, their coin is going to do really well, since, as you know, mining is a really quick gather rate compared to farming. Right, farming takes a while, even with some technologies, compared to that of the mining, which is very speedy. Oh wow, look at this. We see the French going right up against the Mexican towers. A little bit close for comfort, don't you think? Oh yeah, I mean, I'd be getting a little claustrophobic right now seeing units right up against my base like that. Also, man, what's up with this? Like, what was the plan here? Were you gonna go for like we're seeing petards rushing on this side. Oh, okay. Now I sort of understand what's going on here. He's gonna do something very petarded here. Yeah, very, very petarded. Yep, definitely. So, let's see if these petards can actually make their way in. Now, they're going to have to make it through this wall first, and then they're going to have to slide in over here to start causing havoc. Right now, it seems like only the French is really pushed up in the front a lot. It seems like the British are luckily more so in the back. That's because, as we remember from last game, Angel of Death brings siege archery and uses that with his longbowmen. Because, as you know, in Deathmatch, you got about two options with British. You can either go with the Rangers, you know, swap them out using the Royal Decree. Rangers, as you know, they're very powerful. They got really good multipliers, a lot of damage, but they do have shorter range. Or you can keep them as longbowmen, which the longbowmen, which, you know, they don't cost coin, they cost wood, which in some cases might be better, but their main sticking point is they get better rate of fire and better range. And with the siege archery card, basically they turn into little mini mortars. You know, they stand all the way in the back from their about, what's their siege range? It says about 26 range, is that right? Oh yeah, 26 range, they start firing flaming arrows at the buildings. Which, as you see here, is why Dutch are starting to make hussars, because the only way that you put pressure on those longbowmen is really just charge them with lots of hussars. Or you can actually use cannons as well, since the cannons actually have the same amount of range as the longbowmen do, about 26. So yeah, either get a massive horse guns or a massive hussars to deal with siege archery as they start to try to attack your buildings. And at the same time, we see culverins also doing some damage to the buildings as well. They get a bit of a slight multiplier actually, as you see here, about 1.9 against buildings, so combine that with siege archery, that could be pretty serious here. You know, Mexico's going to have to make sure that their Dutch ally here is doing alright and they don't start getting pushed back at all, because as you see here, there's about, I would say, about 3 rows of buildings here. Stables in the front, barracks in the middle, and then you got foundries and the barracks in the back. If they can sort of siege archery their way through these, then you start to see the merchants under direct risk over here by the farm. Yeah, so they're going to have to be careful of that. Whatever happened to those petards? What did the petards make it? I didn't see what those petards were doing before. Let's take a look. So it looks like the factories are fully intact for France. Is that right? How about the Brits, the commandments? Yep, their factories are up. So looks like for now their buildings are pretty much fully intact. But as I was saying that, the Dutch are going back to their old ways of bringing the hussars into the base again, you know? We know that Bo Claessens always likes to go for hussar raids with his Dutch. It's kind of a signature at this point. They've made it into the back. They're actually going to get some casualties here against the French, against the British settlers, it looks like. Yeah, French don't have settlers, they have coureurs de bois. But still, couple of good casualties here, but I suggest you try to go for a bit of a bigger mass next time. You know, to get the really best results with hussar raiding, try to get as many of them in as possible. Also, try to get that advanced arsenal technology pillage, you know, so they can start sieging these factories down, maybe take down a mill or an estate. That's really when you start to see those hussar raids make a real difference. But at the same time, you know, France has learned their lesson, and they're going to do the same thing over here. What's going on over here, though? What is this Mexican tactic? In all of that havoc, they've actually gotten their entire army up to this wall. And they're going to go right into the French economy, where these mills are. Coureurs de Bois have already started to vacate the area. These ones that were on the hunts are going to vacate as well. That is not good. That is actually a serious threat, because that means all the armies over here. Does France have their army? Oh, they actually have their army over here. I was going to say, if they were looking to go for a siege down here, they'd actually be in real trouble, because they'd have to pull back all the way back up here. Now, are we going to see any Mexican settlers come up here and start putting buildings here, like maybe barracks, stable, foundry? That would be a good time to start doing that. Yeah, absolutely. Like, when you got them in a vice like this and you're starting to push in, you need to back it up with some stuff. If you don't back it up at all, what's the point? What's the use? Oh, wow, look at that. I think the culverins were going to try to sneak their way in and deny these cannons actress over here, but the Shenango riders were there just in the nick of time to, you know, deny that counterattack. So now these cannons can actually proceed their way into here. And that's where we might see some trouble for France start to brew. You know, if those mortars can start to shell these towers, start attacking this mill, we can start to see the French economy falter a bit. Yeah, look, it's already starting to falter because you know how much food economy that was? That was about 3 farms and the hunting. So now the French food economy is basically starved at this point, you know what I mean? They don't have any bread, they don't have any snails, no croissants, no baguettes, none of that. They're literally starving right now. And they need to push their way out of here to get these farms back. But as I said that, Mexico has planted their inspiring flag. This, of course, is going to buff up the stats of these units as they work to deny France these farms again. And France, at this point, I mean, they could put some more mills over here, but that's going to be a little bit claustrophobic for the base, you know? That's less space that you can put towers in or production in case you get really pushed back. At the same time, Dutch is also doing the same thing over here, using Reiters to actually siege apart this wall. So they're sort of going for like a lobster claw like formation. One army on this side, one army on this side. So they're going for a pincher, you know, like when you get pinched by a lobster or a crab. That's sort of what they're doing to this base, and it's actually working really well right now. We see the Dutch riders going right into that base there, and they're already starting to blast their way through. You know, these riders are killing multiple courier de bois. They're going to also be able to kill these settlers with the hussars coming in right behind them. And it looks like finally, what is going on with the Mexicans though? Are they going to go for an assault over here? Or, yeah, what's the plan next? Because I saw some stuff pulling out over here. Well, looks like they were maybe just regrouping because I see still some vigilantes, some of the insurgentes, some culverins. So maybe that's part of a plan. You know, while the Dutch are still active inside the base here. Yeah, this is really not good for the British and the, well, the British have some resources. The French, though, are basically starved of food, you know what I mean? They're probably crawling through the dirt right now trying to get those snails that they love so much, you know what I mean? That's all they got. That's all they're going to be able to eat for a while here. Especially when you got the vigilantes on top of the mills like this. So, it looks like Mexico's going to try and assault in multiple places here. That's looking to be pretty successful as it does open up the chance of attacking the artillery better, you know, these insurgentes and cav able to confront the cannons easier as they're distracted trying to deal with this front and this front at the same time. Again, attacked in both areas, literally forcing the British to come in and try to help them. To aid in that, they have shipped in their Concobia natives. You know, this very powerful native unit from Africa that has a splash in its range attack, you know, think sort of like Escopeteros from Wars of Liberty almost. Yeah, that's going to be pretty helpful in defending this area for the British and the French team. Dragoons trying to target down these culverins as best as possible, because these culverins can actually be used to start sieging here too. And, what's going on over here? We see more of the Dutch hussars going into the base again. Just as these courier de bois were trying to get some farms up, you know what I mean? They want some bread. The people need bread, or, you know what I mean? If you run out of bread, you basically starve pretty much. Unfortunately, they were right on top of this foundation. Now the courier de bois are going to finally be able to build this farm. I don't know how long it's going to last, though, because, as you know, they're getting attacked from both sides here pretty severely. These Chinako riders having an easy time picking out the longbowmen once they expose themselves far away from the base. As you know, the Chinako riders have a whopping 2.5 multipliers against those longbowmen. Pretty brutal stuff. Also, they're going to have an easy attack at these cannons because they're left completely exposed here. Yeah, that's pretty costly for you. You know what I mean? You can't leave your cannons exposed like that. If you do, that's a big loss. You're already starving in food, man. If you start... Yeah, their coin is actually about gone. Like, look at how few resources this France has right now. They're knocking on death's door right now. The only reason they're still in this match is because of their British ally here. Yeah. Britain is also starting to lose resources too, though. You know what I mean? It's not faring well for them either. Their food is starting to go underneath as well. You know what I mean? Yeah, pretty much. You need to make sure that you can get enough food usually, because food basically builds most of the units that you need for a civ. You know, it builds most of your infantry, most of your cavalry. The only thing you can really make without food is just cannons and, of course, mercenaries. Which, you know, eventually the coin for that runs out too, since cannons cost on average like between 400 and 500, 600 coin a piece, so that doesn't last too long. What British can do, though, as you've seen in the last game, is send the Infinite 2 rockets from the home city every time they receive a shipment. These rockets are really a versatile artillery unit, since they really have no malice against cavalry, so they do a whopping like 300 damage against the cav units. Yeah, that's pretty powerful, but if you leave them exposed like that, the Chinook Warriors are just going to swipe them underneath the rug. Yeah, I mean, this is a big issue for this defense here, is the artillery is making some gains, and then the cavalry from Mexico just comes in and wipes them out. And then you lose that advantage, and then you start having to shell out food to make infantry, and then your food runs out. It's a vicious cycle. You know what I mean? It's a vicious cycle that you need to deal with, because if you don't deal with it, you're going to be dead. You're going to be gone. It's just an unfortunate truth. You know what I mean? I am trolling around. He is trolling around. What is he trolling around with? Ah, so he's not even trying at this point. Res then, please. Yeah, I mean, how's Mexico doing? Oh wow, Mexico, they're actually doing as bad in resources as the people there got sieged in their base right now. What's going on with that? How many settlers does this man have? 73? Oh, and then they got the hacienda working on the cows, the vacas. Ah, that explains it. That explains it. Yeah, I mean, lucky thing you got a Dutch ally, though. I mean, as soon as you run out of food and coin, you just go to your sugar daddy, the Dutch, and they're going to give you like 20,000 coin apiece just to keep you going, you know what I mean? That's why everybody should have a Dutch sugar daddy when they go in the deathmatch, because then you don't have to worry about resources as much. You can just ask them for it. Distract in front. So this is a clear tactic here. I go side. Mexico will attack from the front, and then, as we've seen before, Pink are going to use their artillery foundry here to go for a grenadier spam. Ah yes, grenadiers. We don't see them a lot in Deathmatch. You know, grenadiers are one of those more obscure units, you know what I mean? They throw grenades which deal splash damage. It's also considered flush damage. So they're really good against a lot of different things, namely infantry, buildings. But they do have some malice, as you see here, against the cavalry units, against the cannons, to not make them too broken. You know what I mean? Does Dutch actually have grenade launchers, though? No grenade launchers. I don't know. Do Dutch get grenade launchers? I don't remember. Now, if they do, I would say get that, since that makes Grenadiers a lot better, but as we heard before, Dutch at this point are just trolling, so they're going to see if they can bomb their way into the base, instead of doing the more traditional Rider, Skirmisher stuff. Or even the Halberdiers, too, because we see low classens go with the halberdier spam once they lock their way into the base. You know, they start out with hussars, but once those hussars really start to get success, you'll see a lot of forward barracks coming up from him, and then the halberdiers go in, and then the halberdiers have the same attack damage as the hussars do, but they're only one pop. And then once they get in that close with about 180 pop of them or so for how many you got, then it's basically game over. You know what I mean? Since the halberdiers can siege, they can kill cavalry, they can kill infantry once they get up right and close with them, and then they can target down cans too. Halberdier is one of those special units you don't always think about taking your base out, but once you get like a big set of production builds there, then they do. How is the Grenadier theory going? Is it going well? Maybe we see some Hussars being inserted as well to maybe keep some of the Hussars off of them. Are they going to go for the factory? Yes, they are. I see them sort of marching their way in that direction. We're going to see Grenadiers bombing down this factory. Here we go. Here we go. Look at those bombs flying through the air and into the factory. How many? Only 3 volleys and the factory is down. Now we're going to see the other factory be destroyed. Yes? Yes? Are we? It looks like maybe. Maybe. Let's see. Let's see if these bombs can... I don't know at this point. I don't think they have enough. But, oh, yeah, they're flagging... Yep, he's flagging the... Yeah. Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely a Quantimo clap for sure. Definitely worth it. And then we got the Shinako still working in the front here as that distraction force. How are these French and British still alive? I selected wrong deck, but that tribute made up for it. Yep, always the Dutch sugar daddy coming to the rescue. Gotta love it. Gotta love it, folks. Mexico is going to add some insurgentes into the stack as well. Like, how are they still operating over here? Like, also, Don Stowe, what's up with the French Musketeers? We said this last game. They're horrible. Well, they're not horrible, but they actually get benefits from these 2 cards, I believe. Yep, these ones. But I would say that why are you making Musketeers right now? You know what I mean? You should honestly be more concerned about the possibility of getting spammed by Vigilantes by Mexico. You know what I mean? I get that you're seeing a lot of Chinanko riders, but you could obviously deal with those a bit better if you use some of these Dragoons, I think. You know what I mean? They're a bit better at targeting stuff. But that's my personal opinion, you know what I mean? I don't usually go with Musketeers in super late game unless it's sort of to be brought alongside the cannons. It's sort of like a protective unit, you know what I mean? I consider Musketeers to be more of a defensive anti-cav, and I consider Dragoons to be more of an offensive anti-cav. But I guess you could use them anyway, I guess, since of course you could put them in bayonet mode and just run them forward. But to me, that seems sort of like a waste of resources, since, you know what I mean, Dragoons can go in and out a lot quicker alongside their multipliers against the artillery, which gives them another added value. You really gotta decide which units work best with you. You know what I mean, which sort of tags, which sort of civs with certain bonus cards for those units. Yeah, I think we're starting to see a GG here at any moment. This is not looking good. France is, you know, they're literally taking big shovels into the sand right now looking for snails, or frogs or toads, or swimming around in the Euphrates River here looking for goose livers, you know what I mean? France is going deep into their crazy cuisine to try to survive this right now, and I don't think that's going to hold on forever. It's not. It's not going to hold on forever at this point. GG, nice raids. Yeah, the raids really made the difference here, folks. This was great raiding between Below Classens and HVNI. This was really good raiding work here. I definitely commend them for their raiding work. Yeah, great job. Great job to both players, though. I mean, France and British could have resigned a lot earlier, but they didn't. You know what I mean? They wanted to hold out. You know what I mean? At times, they were working with only like 100, 200 food, wood, or coin. And they were somehow managing to stack their units in the base properly to hold them off, which I find very commendable. You know what I mean? It takes a lot of honor to try to stall out a match like that. And they made it for a good, 27 minutes? Not bad. Not bad at all. Now, in terms of resources, of course, Dutch, being the big sugar day to the Mexicans, come out with almost 200 grand in resources. Coin, of course, is going to be the biggest factor here. How about military? Who is doing the most killing? So actually, it seems like the defending French, for all the resources that they were lacking, were actually managing their army really well and getting the most kills here. But at the same time, their attacker, the Mexicans, were also getting some serious casualties in. It does seem like the Dutch were doing a bit better than the British, though, in terms of killing output. Yeah, definitely. But as you see here in the raise, the British longbowmen with their siege archery did get a lot of buildings early on, about 15 buildings. And then as the match shifted over, then you sort of saw Dutch and Mexico doing a lot better in the sieging. Well, I hope you enjoyed that one, you know what I mean? It was great seeing the same map again, and it was great seeing a team that we saw the match before using their same civs again, this time in a 2 versus 2 environment. But anyways, if you enjoy casting games of any kind, deathmatch, supremacy, even scenarios, you know what I mean, like Arena, which I streamed once, send the recordings my way and I will do them for you happily, you know what I mean? I wouldn't mind doing 10 or 20 castings a day if you want, you know what I mean? Give me everything you got. I'll take it. See you in the next one, you know what I mean? I got another one coming up right after this, though, published with this one, so get ready. Signing off now.